So
can
thanks
hear
everyone.
you.
I think fantastic. So I'm Priyom, and most of you have met Gaurav. We are both the co-founders of Asanify. We thought, as an ongoing service to our current customers, we would love to get deeper in terms of what are the facilities and functionalities already existing in Asanify. Of course, we keep launching new features based on your feedback, but already the features that are existing, it will be good for everyone to be on the same page and be aware of the functionalities. Today, because obviously most of every employee needs to get paid, and every employer, that is one of the most important functionalities. So we thought we'll start with payroll, and that's where we also put a lot of our thinking in terms of product and engineering, and also our customer service we put towards payroll itself. So we thought we'll simplify specifically payroll and or rather generally payroll, but within payroll we'll talk about two things today. One is the expense reimbursement part. Obviously, we'll talk about the entire module of expense, but specifically how to sync the expense reimbursements within the payroll amounts. And secondly, the salary advances, because that's also not too many people are aware that already in Asanify you can provide salary advances. So I'll maybe hand over to Gaurav, who can maybe give a live demo in one of our demo accounts, and then using that we can answer. Maybe last 10 minutes we can keep for any Q&A related to this, and maybe we can also get other feedback about future sessions that we will have. We are recording it, so in case some of your colleagues may need access to this, we can share this offline as per your requirements. Okay. All right. Hand over to Gaurav.
Thanks, Priyam, and thank you so much, everyone, for showing up. Obviously, this is something that we will keep doing because, like Priyam mentioned, we are going to be launching a lot of things which are either new features or simplification of existing features. And it will be important that all our existing customers are aware of those features, and if there's any doubt, etc., that can be cleared here. So you might have received the emails for the invite for this webinar, and going forward also you'll be getting those invites. If there are specific questions in your mind, you can put that out in the form itself. Yeah. Cool. So let's start with the expenses part first, and then we'll come to how the advances can be given to the employees and how that gets adjusted in the payroll. Yeah. In the expenses, you will see if you log into the expense functionality, there's a tab which says expense type. At a company level, you can define what kind of expense type do you want for your company, and it's completely flexible to take care of any such heads that you might want to have. So let's say I want to have a expense head which might be, let's say, uniform expense, which might be something that people are incurring. You can define what account code this particular one falls under, and any description if you may want. So if, let's say, travel allowance, food allowance, there may be multiple expense types that your company might be incurring a cost under. Those expense types need to be created as a first time activity. Once you've created those expense types, when your employees log into the expense section, then at this time they'll be able to just help me understand, and maybe you guys can unmute yourself also for a bit if you want. What kind of these expenses or out of pocket expenses that your employees are incurring that you guys are reimbursing? Any views on what kind of heads are you guys looking at right now? Ekta, Vinod, how are you tracking it?
Right now we have only uniform expenses.
Okay.
That would be reimbursed.
And that is,
it will be.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, that will be reimbursed to the employees.
Right.
And we are also planning for group insurance, so that also can be added in.
So there are two parts of these costs. One is something which might be a part of the salary, and that we will take up as a part of the payroll feature. But these are those out-of-pocket expenses. Let's say I'm taking the taxi bill, or let's say I'm going out for a client meeting and there's a food expense that I have incurred, and how do I claim that? So what we are going to focus on today will be all those out-of-pocket expenses which are not a part of employee's salary, but these are the expenses that they have incurred, and they want to claim those things as a reimbursement from the company. Yeah, is that
Yeah,
clear?
classic example is basically if the employee is traveling for work to out of station and he's incurring costs both in terms of hotel stay, flight fare, food bills, etc. That if they want to get reimbursed, because this is actually company's expense, but they are doing it on company's behalf, and then company in the accounting journal or JV journal vouchers, company has to specify the specific account code. That's why we will be able to generate reports for your company's accounting, because these are company expenses that an employee has borne on behalf of the company. That is what the expense module is for. And we will also show you when you run payroll, how can you account for the fact that you are giving back not just the salary related amounts, but also reimbursements amounts which are out of pocket expenses. And we are also expanding this very soon to say time and any other salary advances which you would have given for the purpose of travel, etc. So that also will be considered. Any mileage indicators, any per diems, etc. That also will add new features within the expense module very soon. But as of now, this is what it's.
This can be training expenses which we spend on employees training, which will be mostly out of office.
Right. If the employee is bearing that cost on the company's behalf, then yes. So, for example, you're right. If someone has taken a course and paid for it and then wants to get it reimbursed, so that is definitely a right example. So the only nuance here is that these are not expenses which are supposed to be part of the CDC. That is the payroll
of the CDC.
component. Yeah. So these are not never part of CDC. These are just out of pocket expenses employees borne on behalf of the company.
Yeah, that's clear, right?
Yes.
So as an admin, obviously right now I'm logged in as an admin and I can create these expenses for any of the employees. Employees will be able to do it only for themselves. They'll see only their name. So let's say if Sophia has to create an expense, in the expense section, they can put the date on which the expense was incurred. They can identify whatever was the merchant type, where let's say this was a restaurant where I had incurred a food expense. I can put down all the heads that I had defined as expense types. I'll see that in the drop down, and I can enter whatever was the amount that I incurred as the expense, any description that might be there. And whether it is a claimable expense or non-claimable expense, you can sometimes also record the expense which you're not claiming from the company. And then as a reconciliation or as a ratification of what that expense amount was, the employees are also supposed to upload the bill that shows the amount that they have spent. This can be done either by scanning the bill and uploading it on the system using their laptop, or if they are logged in from the mobile app, they can simply open the camera and click a picture of their bill as well. Yeah. And then all the employees have to do is create that expense, and it is already done. Once the employees have created the expense, as an admin, you'll have a view. It will come into your dashboard page as request approval. It will sit in your approval queue, and once you've approved or rejected it, the expense will be available in the analytics dashboard. I'll show you very quickly where that is. Let me just go back to expenses for now. So here you will be able to see all the expenses that have been incurred by your reportees that might have done it so far. So if I look at Sophia's food bill, this is the expense that I've created just now, which is created on 14th. Expense date was 5th, and the status is approved. It is showing approved because as an admin I had created that. If it was the employee doing that, after approval it will show as approved. Yeah. All these expenses that you have created, these can also be downloaded as an Excel report from here itself.
Gaurav, can you just scroll to the right? There are a couple of other columns also. It might be helpful for them to see. Yeah. So if there's any receipts, the attachment will come here itself. And in the info, you can see other information about the reimbursement.
Right. Yeah.
And this is a per expense view. If you go to analytics, there is a more detail. And as Gaurav was saying, you can export the entire thing per expense as a Excel or a CSV. However, if you want a summary view, which is important when you are doing payroll reconciliation, you can go to analytics and maybe Gaurav want to
Right.
show that
Yeah.
anyway. So I'll
There are two parts to this. Where what you want to see is what were the individual expenses that your employees have incurred, which is this view that we are looking at right now. So let's say Sophia has incurred 10,000, 2,000, 100, three individual expenses that she has incurred, which she is reimbursing. But while running the payroll, you will need the compilation of all 10,000 plus 2,000 plus 100, because it is the sum total that you're going to put in as a part of that month's payroll, right? So if you want the individual view, you can export it from here. Otherwise, in the analytics section, there's an expense report. Before you run the payroll, you can actually look at the time period for when the expense was incurred. And let's say I'll just select it for Sophia right now for it to be clear. If I load the expenses that have been incurred, you will see the overall amount that is there for in this period. How much is the amount that I need to reimburse for Sophia? Now here, this report can also be downloaded, and while running the payroll, this can be simply uploaded in the first stage, and I'll just show you how that is done as well. So there are two reports that we are looking at. Under the expense section, the individual heads under which the bills are made can be seen. And finally, in any time period, what is the overall sum that you need to reimburse to the employee can be taken out from the analytics expense report. Yeah. If I go to the payroll section, as many of you would be familiar with, when you go to run the payroll, which is how you will run it. If you select the month for which you are running the payroll, let's say I'm running it for March of next year, you will see the system is calculating the gross and net salary for each of the employees and their tax slab basis, their salaries which have been put in already. And then there is a field called reimbursement, which will appear here. It is obviously a variable field. Whatever was the analytics output of the amount for each employee, that can be uploaded simply here with the column name as reimbursement, and it will automatically populate for each of those employees where the approved amount is there. So let's just recap what we are doing for these expense reimbursements. First, we are defining the heads like a travel bill or food bill or any such expense heads that you're putting it under. Employees are logging in and they are recording the expense and adding the bill as a supporting document for that. As an admin, when you approve it, it can be taken as a line by line view through the expense section, or as a consolidated amount that you will need for the payroll from the analytics section. And while running the payroll, that can simply be uploaded here, and that will become a part of that month's payroll. Needless to
if
say,
you have many employees, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, needless to say, there is no tax implication on this. So when you're adding it as a reimbursement, the tax will not impact any tax elements in this.
Right, and instead of manually entering, if you have many employees, like I know some of us have, in that case, you can just upload a file also instead of manually entering it one by one. If you already stored it per employee ID, you can just upload it like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and a couple of other things on this. Once I think you, if you want to show in Payslip, how does it come? Is it part of net salary or is it independent of net salary?
Yeah, so once that is done, let me just add for one employee, let's say Sumit Sharma, I'll add the reimbursement here for $1,000 as an example. And once I process the input and I confirm the payroll, let's say I'm just confirming the payroll and generating the payslip. Once the employee logs in to see the payslip for that month, let's say for this employee that I had added the reimbursement just now, when he downloads this particular month's payslip, let me just show you once it's downloaded. Hold on. You all can see the payslip window, right?
Yes.
Awesome. So you'll see for this employee, the reimbursement amount will appear separately because that's not a part of the salary that he's earning, but it will get added as a reimbursement at the bottom of the payslip. Yeah.
Just one note: if you already have the Asanify virtual account, what happens is you can transfer the total amount at the end of the month to the employee. But there we will consider both net salary plus reimbursements in order to identify how much money is to be paid out to this employee. So employee will get the total amount, just that it will be given maybe in two separate transactions, so that for your own accounting purposes and reconciliation purposes, it will become clear.
Right. Awesome. So that is, as far as expense reimbursement is concerned, it's simply a one-time creating of those heads, and your employees can keep filing it as they go along. Just help me understand, and I'd love to hear some views on this. How many times does it happen in your companies that employees are asking for advance money, and you're doing that middle of the month, giving off some money as advance and deducting it from the payroll?
It usually happens.
It does happen, right? And
it does happen. And the reimbursement would be sometimes a full amount deduction, or sometimes we give it in EMI, 2 or 3 months EMI.
Got it. So there are two parts to this. Now, typically when an advance salary is given to an employee, one is recovering that entire amount in that month's payroll, or if you're giving away some let's say a loan to an employee, which becomes a perk, that is a part of the salary, which we will touch upon in another session. Today we'll talk about that advance which is given to the employee, which is recovered in that month's payroll. So just that instead of 30th, if my salary is 50,000, I've taken a 10,000 rupee advance, and that needs to be deducted in that month's payroll. So if you go to that employee's profile, let's say if this particular employee, Sumit, has again come to me in the middle of the month, looking for a salary advance. While you give the salary advance, it's important to record that salary advance on the system as well. You can, let's say for the month of September, this guy has taken the salary. I'll have to change the month because the payroll for September in this demo account has already been run. I'll not be able to add the advance for that particular month again. So those are the checks and balances which are already put in the system. Right now, I had run the payroll for March. So let's say we are sitting in April of 2023, and this guy wants a 10,000 rupee advance for this month. I can enter the note that might be there, whatever, let's say some family emergency, and I'm giving away this advance. Now, if there are 20 people taking the advance, it's important that we record those 20 advances in the system. Once it is on the system, there is no other Excel sheet, etc., that you might need to maintain. Once you are running the payroll for the month, let's say for the month
of, maybe you can show preview also. Even in the preview, you don't even need to go to payroll. Here only, you can click on the preview monthly for the whichever month you have given the advance for. In the preview also, you'll be able to see that the advance will get deducted.
Right.
I think the payroll inputs you might need to change once it comes.
There. So even when you go to the preview and when you are running the payroll for that month, if you've given the advance to 25 people, you don't have to remember who to deduct how much from. That will automatically be taken into account and reflected in the payslip. Yeah.
By the way, there's a system check also that, for example, if your net earnings is supposed to be 12,000, if you try to give advance of 15,000, it will reject because the expected net salary for this month is should be less, as in should be more than the deduction that you're trying to get.
Any questions on this so far?
Nothing from my side.
Yeah, and all expenses, if you want to show this advance link in payroll, all the advances you're given, that is available in that advance link there. Yeah.
Yeah. So all the advances that have been given, like again, you may want to at some stage download what are the instances where advance has been given. So all the advance that have been given out can be seen here as well. And this can be downloaded as an Excel report as well. Yeah. The one that I've given right now, it can be sorted and exported that into an Excel sheet. So like advances and expenses, obviously we have there are many other payroll features, and over the next few weeks, we'll keep having more and more of these sessions as we go along to cover each of these aspects. We'll also be sharing the video recording so that in companies where there are multiple admins and they have to more people have to be trained on how these features are used, the recording might be useful. Yeah, Ekta, any questions?
Yeah.
Okay, I think Ekta is on mute. Great. Anyone else who might want to ask anything?
Nothing from my side.
No, Gaurav, nothing from my end.
All right. Sure. So please do keep an eye out for these webinars. It will be those short 25-30 minute session that we'll keep holding very, very frequently. And if there are any topics which are of interest to you, where you think you might need a little bit of hand-holding, we'll be happy to put that as the next session, depending upon the feedback that we are getting. Yeah. Thanks everyone for taking time out. I know it's the middle of the day, and let's get going. We'll be sharing the logs for this meeting with all of you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vinod. Thanks, Ekta. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Parag, Gayatri. All right. We'll close the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye everyone. Thanks. Take care.